to the passion that all human beings felt for the flight and hunt with birds of prey. For a correct handling of the falcons, it's necessary to use a series of specific equipment. The gauntlet for falconry covers the left hand, leaving the right hand free. This is made in leather and must be soft but strong, to avoid that the falcon stabs in claws in our hand. The gizes are leather straps that are tied to the leg of the bird and are held by the blow, and avoids to escape or flight. And above all, the hoods. Without them, it's not possible to train the falcons. It's a mask made of leather to fit the head of the falcon. It leaves the beak free and covers the eyes. The falcons are animals with an optic brain, receiving an 18% of the information by the sight. If we deprive them of this stimulus, we obtain that they become unreceptive to the training. Falconry had two main ways of penetration in Spain. The first, in the 8th century, there was already a new Spanish version carried out in the School of Translators in Toledo of the Kitab al-Jawarib of the astronomer and falconer Muhammad ibn Abdallah, fundamental book in which other works are based on. Since the 13th century, King Fernando III created a position of capirotero, or manufacturer of hoods, and here starts the development of a craftsmanship around the equipment for falconry, incorporating into the position famous and able workers of the leather from Andalusia. Some decades after the first book of Spain falconry was written, today is missing. Alfonso X, he spoke of the craftsmanship of falconry and narrated how the gauntlet and hoods were made in leather and techniques typical Andalusian. Cordobans was a type of leather that was only tanned in Cordoba. Tafiletes, was a very fine and soft goat leather used in Granada or embossment leathers. During the Golden Age, between the 13th and the 18th century, falconry suffered a great influence of the European falconry for the Union of Spain and Germany, and the Emperor Carlos V. The equipment is becoming more and more luxurious and less practical, losing its original functionality, and falconry goes from behind a hand and an union with nature to become a social event. Finally, the invention of firearms impacted falconry as it suffered a slow decline in Spain until its total disappearance of the beginning of the 20th century. When Dr. Félix Rodríguez de la Fuente started to bring about the forgotten art of the falconry in the middle of the 20th century, he found a great problem. The craftsman that made the falconry equipment has disappeared several centuries ago, and it was totally impossible to find anyone that knew how to make a hood. He had to resort to French craftsmen to obtain these equipments, but even though they were pretty and were difficult and expensive to find, besides behind of little practical use. The solution to this problem came again from the north of Africa. During a trip to Morocco, a friendship began with a falconry tribe called Qasim, near Marrakech. They showed him to the secret of the Moroccan hoods, the old patterns that passed on from fathers to sons, how to select the skins and how to make them. 1,200 years later, the Arab and Spanish falconers exchanged this knowledge and benefit from them. 10 years later, he carried out a diplomatic mission to deliver 2 falcons to the king of Saudi Arabia. The king saw he was a passionate falconer and asked the Spanish government for 2 Baharis, adult falcons, not trained, so that they may be trained in the Arab falconry. Already, since the Middle Age, the Baharis had fame between the falconers of the world for their sweet character and great chorus. After capturing them, Dr. Felix Rodriguez de la Fuente traveled to Riyadh with the title of the Great Falconer from Spain, chains that disappeared in our country in the 18th century and delivered them directly from the fields to the hands of the king. The great falconer was invited to know the Arab falconry and was accompanied by the king's falconer Abdallah Ababi, from whom he learned how to train the magnificent Shakers falcons of the desert. Years later, Dr. Felix Rodriguez de la Fuente was invited again to witness a hunt of the Hubara bastard in the desert and remained amazed once again with the strength of the sacred falcon. Consequently, King Faisal gifted him a magnificent sacred falcon. This falcon wore an Arab hood with a concertina closer that was very light and comfortable, and Felix remained with this type of hood, since it was very superior of the English style hoods that he used. At this arrival to Spain, he asked his personal falconer to study the hood and adapt it to the Spanish falconry. Aurelio was the name of the falconer, was a great craftsman and made a proud work, not only adapting it to the falcons and goshawks, but also to eagles. He began to manufacture falconry equipment on a commercial level, recuperating some of the falconry craftsmanship in Spain. But this history cannot finish without, in some manner, giving back to the Arab falconry a little of how it contributed to the Spanish falconry craftsmanship. Then, in 1983, Aurelio Pérez, converted in master falconer, took with him as a gift to Saudi Arabia 2 magnificent females white-haired falcons, its most beautiful falcons in the world. These were Arab-style hoods made in Spain, returning this to the crossed roads of the Spanish and Arab falconry craftsmanship. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr.